And very nice. Very nice.
Oh, no.
Special gift.
Oh my God.
Oh, look at this. Norman's budgie smokers.
Yeah, well, we've seen you in them already, so we thought, I've seen you in some thongs. It'd be great to get you guys in some thongs and continue that tradition of you guys come to Australia, we have something unique, so you want to come back. So, thanks very much for coming. Love having you.
Yes. Yes. Well, he's like, you know.
Yep.
Show us your presents.
Yeah. Can we see
Very
them?
happy with you.
G'day, Megs. G'day.
There are royal moments, and then there are the kind of moments that remind people why Prince Harry and Meghan have always connected differently with ordinary people. Because sometimes the most unforgettable moments are not the ones wrapped in diamonds, protocol, or palace tradition, but the ones wrapped in humour, warmth, and genuine affection. And, you know, one of those moments happened when Harry and Meghan were handed one of the most hilariously Australian gifts imaginable, a personalised pair of thongs. And for anyone outside Australia, yes, that means flip-flops, not what some people in the UK tabloids probably rushed to pretend it meant for dramatic headlines. Because the second that gift was presented, it instantly became one of those beautifully human moments that no amount of royal stiffness could ever recreate. The setting already felt relaxed. Harry and Meghan were spending time with Invictus community members and their families, surrounded by veterans, supporters, and people who weren't there for staged photo opportunities. They were there because they genuinely cared about the mission behind the Invictus Games. That is what makes this story so much sweeter. This was not some random souvenir shop handing over a novelty item for a cheap laugh. This was a thoughtful, playful Australian gesture from people who wanted to make the Duke and Duchess feel welcomed in a way that was deeply local, deeply personal, and honestly, very funny. When Joel Vanderswan, an Invictus alum, presented the personalised thongs to Harry and Meghan before their Sydney Harbour outing, it was the kind of gift that could only work because Harry and Meghan know how to laugh. Some royal figures might have frozen. Some might have smiled politely and handed them off to an aide in 2 seconds. Some might have looked offended that anyone dared to break formality. But Harry and Meghan have never been that kind of couple. Their reaction showed exactly why people continue to gravitate toward them, because they understand that connection matters more than ceremony. You can almost imagine Harry seeing the sandals and instantly grinning because this kind of thing is right up his alley. Harry has always had that mischievous side to him, the side that people used to love before some critics decided they only liked him when he stayed silent. This is the same Harry who has always shown that he prefers authenticity over performance. And Meghan, standing there with that warm smile, clearly understood that this wasn't just footwear. It was affection. It was Australia saying, "You're among friends here," and that is something no expensive royal gift could ever replace. That is what makes the whole moment so charming. It wasn't grand, it wasn't polished, it wasn't orchestrated by some palace communications office trying to manufacture relatability. It was naturally relatable. And, you know, sometimes that is exactly why a moment becomes memorable. Because listeners know the difference between people pretending to be down to earth and people who genuinely are. Harry and Meghan didn't act like they were too important for a light-hearted gift. They embraced it. And honestly, the symbolism is even sweeter when you think about it. A pair of personalised Australian thongs is such a relaxed, beach-loving, laid-back kind of gift, and it perfectly matched the tone of the day. They were about to enjoy time on Sydney Harbour, one of the most stunning places in the world, surrounded by Invictus families. It was not about royal distance. It was about closeness. It was about community. It was about shared laughter. And, yeah, sometimes those small details tell a bigger story than official speeches ever can. Because that has always been one of the strongest things about Harry and Meghan together. People often respond to them because they don't feel emotionally locked behind a wall. They laugh with people. They kneel down to children. They stop and listen. They make room for moments that feel unscripted. That simple gift became more than just a funny pair of sandals because it highlighted something bigger, the way people feel comfortable enough around them to be playful. And that says a lot. People do not give silly, affectionate gifts to people who feel cold. People do not joke comfortably with people who feel unreachable. People do not create spontaneous moments with people who make them nervous. They do it with people who feel human. That is why this tiny moment still stands out. Not because the gift itself was extravagant, but because it revealed the atmosphere around Harry and Meghan. The atmosphere was warm enough for laughter, comfortable enough for humor, genuine enough for a veteran to hand over a pair of customized flip-flops and know the moment would be appreciated exactly as intended. And of course, moments like this matter even more when you remember what Invictus means to Harry. The Invictus Games has never just been another event on a calendar for him. It is deeply personal. It reflects service, resilience, healing, and respect for wounded veterans. So when a former competitor gives Harry and Meghan something playful like that, it carries emotional weight beneath the humor. It says, "We see you, we appreciate you, and we welcome you." That makes the laughter even more meaningful. Meghan's presence in moments like this also mattered because she never tried to overshadow the purpose of the event. Instead, she blended into the spirit of it. She understood when to laugh, when to smile, and when to let the people around them shine. That is something many people noticed repeatedly during these visits. She never looked uncomfortable being warm with people. She looked natural doing it. And that made moments like this feel even more effortless. The funniest part is that a pair of flip-flops probably became one of the most talked about gifts because it was so unexpected. Royal watchers have seen flowers, handmade cards, teddy bears and ceremonial gifts for decades. But personalised Australian thongs? That instantly belongs in a category of its own. It was funny, it was local, it was unforgettable, and most importantly, it felt sincere. And maybe that is the bigger lesson in this story. Sometimes the moments people remember most are not the formal ones. They are the ones where people drop the script. The ones where somebody laughs, the ones where a couple being watched by the world suddenly feels like two ordinary people sharing a genuinely funny experience. That little gift was more than a joke. It became a snapshot of warmth, a snapshot of connection, and a snapshot of why so many people still feel drawn to Harry and Meghan when they are simply being themselves. Because in a world full of polished appearances, sometimes a pair of personalized flip-flops can say more than a crown ever could.